Okay, Elizabeth, would love to learn more about you and female founders, the origin story. What is it? Please share.
Yeah, sure. Happy to talk about that. So, Female Founders is a Europe-based company. Our headquarters is in Vienna, Austria, and it was founded in 2016. So we turned 7 this year. The company really started very informal. Our co-founders, Nina Bus and Lisa Fussel, they started really next to their full-time jobs. And they saw a big need to make the European tech and innovation ecosystem more diverse and more equal. And so they started with hosting some informal meetups, bringing women together to create this space where they could share their challenges, find mentors, etc. And that just grew over the years. I only joined the company a year and a half ago, I want to say. But and the small team that they had created over the years, they really started working on it full time March 2020, which means that it was exactly before COVID, which I guess was a super crazy time. But I also think it really pushed the team in a positive way, actually, to think about, okay, what is it actually that we want to do? How do we want to do that, etc. I don't know if you want me to go like further into what it is that we do now or
Yeah, actually, maybe
yeah.
would love to hear more about your specific role within the organization.
So as I said, I joined about a year and a half ago as a junior accelerator manager, which meant that I was supporting our head of GrowF and our head of LeadF. And these are two of our core products. GrowF is an accelerator program for startups to help them become investment ready. And then specifically startups that either have a diverse co-founding team or have at least one female co-founder. And LeadF, our leadership accelerator. Both programs have changed a lot actually very recently, but we'll get to that. Disco plays a part in that as well. And LeadF, our accelerator program for women who either just started in leadership positions, wanted to get into a leadership position, or had been in a leadership position for some time, but never gotten any formal training to help them develop their leadership skills. My role has changed quite a bit. I guess that is something that's rather exciting about working for. So we are not a startup, but we work within the startup ecosystem. And so I think our company reflects a lot of sort of the work practices that you often see within a startup. So it's very fast paced. Your role can change a lot within 1 year. The team has grown, etc. I'm currently working as the Accelerator Manager for our leadership program. So instead of working on both programs, I've really started working full time on just one. Also because sometime last year, we also launched a VC fund, and that's where our co-founders are focusing on now. And so obviously that also meant some changes in management in the company, etc. I'm sorry if I'm going a bit from
Oh, no, there's no other.
professional and from Corinth Flush.
No, you're doing great. I'm actually curious because you touched on this a little bit. In
Mhm.
2016, when the organization was launched, and you were saying there's like meetups, were they in person originally? And then 2020, kind of everything moved online.
This is where COVID really made a big change because it was like everything they did was very much focused on Austria, but really just Vienna. And so also, I think they had run one program of so GrowF and LeadF, which at the time were still like together in one program. And that was in person, which I think has lots of benefits. But then obviously, because COVID came, they had to make changes. And I think what was really great about that is that it helped us move beyond just Austria. So we're really a European focused company now, I would say, which brings in lots of diversity, which is super exciting.
Okay. Can you share more about the different programs in terms of what they are, who they serve, what's the length? Is there like what's the learning experience? What happens afterwards? How many of them do you run in a year? Like I'd love to just learn more about how the business and the learning side functions.
Yeah, of course. Our mission is to make the European tech and innovation ecosystem more diverse. And for a long time, that was very much focused around gender diversity. And so our products and services are built around that as well. Obviously, we also evolve as a company. So we've definitely been approaching diversity in the broader sense and have been slowly moving beyond just gender. But in terms of the specific product services that we offer, I would say you can divide them into 3 pillars. So we have our startup pillar, and then GrowF, our startup program, which also recently got fully redesigned and is now 5 weeks long and will be run multiple times a year. So it used to always be twice a year, and that's probably going to be around 4 times now. And then we have our diversity, equity, inclusion pillar, which Lead Forward is a part of. So this is the leadership accelerator. And also we're doing some consultancy with ups and corporates. And lastly, our events, where the biggest event is our annual conference taking place in person. It's 2 days long. And here we really bring together all of the important stakeholders from the ecosystem, but with a very strong focus on bringing in that diversity aspect, which unfortunately is still missing quite a lot. Now, as I'm responsible for, this is obviously the product that I can speak to most. It's 8 weeks long. We run it twice a year, but we're also looking into scaling that a little and doing it like 3 times a year or even 4 times. But we're still experimenting here. And this is then also the product where we specifically use Disco for at the moment.
Got it.
Because that is really helping us in freeing up some of my time, because literally every single thing used to be so manual. And so that's very nice. That's slowly changing now.
Mhm. And so are you running your other programs on different platforms, or what lives on Discord, and do you have plans to like completely migrate over at some?
So at the moment, it's really only the leadership program that lives on Disco. For GrowF, which is also an online program, we use Notion, which is still working for the program as like the format is now. And it's also, so even for our leadership program, we used to use Notion before. Looking back on, because we've been using a couple different platforms, and I think you can really see that, when you start and something is still small and still in its basic form, I want to say, I think having something basic is most helpful in a way. So we started out with a platform called Luma. I don't know if you know it. And that worked fine for the first couple of batches. And then we were like, we need a little bit more. We started using Notion, which is actually a rather advanced platform, I would say, worked when we didn't want to individualize each learning experience so much yet. And then now I feel like we're at that stage where we want to really adapt what we offer to the needs of each participant. And their platform like Disco is super helpful. So I feel like we've been picking our platforms as we've been growing. And so I can imagine that at some point we'll move over more of our products to Disco as well. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, I was like seeing it all in my head. In terms of the role of community, like obviously when folks are in a program together, there's that peer-to-peer experience and support. But what happens after the program? Is there a community aspect? Do people continue to stay in touch? Is there an alumni membership? Like what?
Yeah. So what we say is once you've been through one of our programs, you're part of Female Founders forever. And that community mostly lives on Slack. We still use different platforms, right? Obviously, we have our Lead F alumni who are then also on the Disco platform, but the Grow F alumni are still in Slack. Some of the mentors that we work with, they're also on Slack. So in order to give everyone access to the full community, we still use that. Necessarily a very structured or formal like after program part yet, I want to say. This is also something that I can totally imagine that we'll develop that in the future. But we organize some alumni events online most of the time, as we have done some in-person meetings in Vienna, etc. But again, like this is not like structured yet.
Got it. And how big is your community?
That depends a little bit how you look at it. So looking at our alumni mentors, like our closed community, I want to say, I think we're pretty small. I want to say probably less than 300 people. when it comes to our bigger community, and then I also include our social media channels where we also engage with our audience, I think that's at the moment, I might be very off because this is not my area, around 65 to 68K, I want to say.
Nice.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is quite big, but also so these are not members who are on Disco or on Slack, right? We also try to still provide valuable content through our blog and our social media posts and to engage with them, highlight, etc. But yeah, it's like the closed community is definitely a lot smaller.
Can you only be a part of the community if you've gone through a program? Like you don't have another community, like an open-ended community that you're inviting people to? Okay.
No, so it's really only if you either went through the program or have been involved like somehow as a mentor. Yeah.
So I guess whatever program you can speak to would be helpful. But in terms of finding your learners and marketing and creating those referral programs, like how has that worked for you in promoting some of your programs?
Yeah. So I think social media and our own newsletter actually have been super important. Because as I said, like we have this, I don't really know what to call them. Not sure if we like to look at them as part of our community, but maybe that's not the right word. But maybe number of followers, or there's a lot of people that are following us. And so we make a lot of use of our social media channels to announce when applications are open again for both of our programs and then also for Lead Today, Shape Tomorrow for the conference. Our newsletter is really important in that. And then also word of mouth. So it's our alumni, it's mentors that we work with, it's the VCs that we work with, etc. So really also our almost personal network in a way, I want to say. Our co-founders are definitely like very well integrated within the startup ecosystem. And then obviously a lot of our team members as well.
We've spoken to some folks in this space that have folks go through a program and then they become mentors. Like, where do you connect with your mentors? How do you decide who's a mentor? Do folks that go through the program eventually have the opportunity to become mentors and have different leadership positions in the community?
Yeah, so this is again a mix, I would say, but definitely our alumni as well. Now, I do have to say that what we used to do actually is for everyone who went through our startup program, they would get assigned a mentor at the beginning of the program. And then for our leadership program, once the program was over, they would get assigned a mentor. The biggest reason being like you went through this intensive process, you've probably learned a lot, but weren't able to implement everything at once. We'll connect you with someone from our community who will continue to work with you. But we're actually, at least for the leadership program, stopping that, which I think is a pity on the one hand, because we have seen some very positive feedback on that. But again, it's something that costs a lot of time because every mentor or every match is handpicked, which is crazy when you think about that. Like
Really.
time and resources that you need for it.
I just want to go back to the business model for a second. What is roughly the cost of some of these programs that people are registering?
So for the leadership program, it's 1,800 euros. And then it's 8 weeks long. It's cohort-based. So there's a fixed start date, there's a fixed end date. And after the program, you continue to have access to the materials and to like the community then as well. For our startup program, it works a little bit different. There's like commitment fee and again, this is not the program I'm responsible for. And this recently changed, I want to say 900 euros. One very important component to our programs is that a lot of the value comes from the people who go through it, right? We can provide the content, we can provide the guidance, etc. But what we do see is that our participants get the most from the new connections that they make, sharing with each other and learning from each other. In order for a program to be successful, people need to show up to the sessions or the events that we're organizing. So that's why there's like commitment fee for GrowF. And then a lot of startup accelerators, they invest some money and then take equity in the company. We are not a big fan of that model. So instead, what we do is if you raise successfully within 18 months of going through the program, then we take a success fee of that.
Okay, got it.
And the reason behind that is obviously there's a huge incentive for us to help you raise successfully because that's how we make the money then. And the founder gets to get as much equity in the company because we're not taking any.
Yeah. And right now your alumni community is free.
Yes. Yeah. We're not charging for that.
Yeah. Have you considered at all or had any discussions about moving to any sort of membership model?
We have. I would say some people are very much against that. Some people do think it could be interesting. I definitely see benefits to it beyond just generating additional revenue. But so far, there haven't been any changes. But
Yeah, no, I hear it. It's interesting. We're seeing so much in this space. And there are definitely organizations that pivot over to annual membership. You get access to all the programs. And then some folks are just staying with the paper program or doing some sort of hybrid. So it's just really fascinating to see what changes over time. And I don't think there's like a one size fits all. I think it really depends on your business goals and your audience and what you're hoping to do and the change you're hoping to make in your industry. I want to pivot a little bit because I know that you're using Disco for one of your programs and you're still using some other tools for other programs. Maybe walk me through the process of needing to find a new platform. Like, why were you looking for one? Why did you choose Disco? Yeah. And anything else you think would be helpful to share. What was that process?
yeah, sure. So I think within 2 months of me joining the team, I had first quarterly feedback session. And then one question that used to be part of that process was always, what, in your opinion, if you could change anything, what would it be? And I think I immediately mentioned like the way the program is being managed, the format, it's really cool, but it's unsustainable and it's unscalable. There's a great expression for this in Dutch, and I don't know what the English equivalent is, but like having a different tool, software, platform for the different components of your program. And so I said, if there's one thing that I can change, it's doing some research into a platform that can actually take a lot of work out of our hands and just makes it lots easier to manage and scale the program. And then a couple of months later, that conversation became more serious. And so we also started looking into a platform where we could potentially host our program. Now, I'm sure you are very well aware of this, but there is a ton of platforms out there. Working a lot with startups, obviously, one of our concerns was which company is going to make it because no way all of them are going to survive. And then also what fulfills our needs the most. So a couple of things that were super important to us is that there obviously needs to be some flexibility in terms of what can you change, how you set it up, etc. But we also didn't want something where you can basically build from scratch. Another thing is that it needed to be super intuitive for our users, because one thing noticed with Notion, obviously Notion is not at all built for hosting any community per se. But what we noticed there is that the people who were familiar with the tool really loved it. And then the ones who never used it before until they joined our program, they were completely lost. That was really important to us as well. That basically every participant needs to be able to understand the platform within 10 minutes, preferably even without our help. Another big change that we want to make in the program is we used to have live sessions every week with an expert. And instead, we wanted to start working with pre-recorded content. We wanted a platform where it was very easy to upload or set up that structure once and then copy paste. And then we ended up with Disco.
We're so happy about that. What's the experience been like? And I'll break that question down a little bit. What's some of your favorite features? Maybe we'll start there and why. What have these features enabled you to do?
Mm-hmm. So just to give some context, we've really started using Disco at the beginning of this year. And so we've tried it out with 2 batches. And I'm actually now in the process of setting it up for the program as the redesign program. But one thing that I've been playing around with a bit and then I really is how you can set up this whole onboarding process and automate a lot of it. And I might actually say some things that aren't true, but like I said, I'm playing around with it. But basically I can say, okay, someone registers and then once the course opens or it's like available to them, they get a message to join Slack. And when they join Slack, there's an automated message sent out from like me telling them what they can find in each channel and that asks them to introduce themselves. Then the next step is they will read our community guidelines and they can accept them. And all these, I used to have to send all these things individually to everyone. And that used to be like 25 to 30 people per program that we ran. But now we're looking into, I mean, for the next one, the groups are going to be bigger. So imagine I had to send that message like 100 times. That's just crazy. So that's something I absolutely love. Another thing I love about Disco is that it's so intuitive. Like, I think I've had a demo once, and at that,
Oops, you froze. Do you mind saying that again?
yeah, sure. Do you hear me well now?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. So maybe start back at it's very intuitive.
Yeah, so I think it's very intuitive. I've had a demo once, but this was actually at a time that it was a little bit too early for us. So we done the demo, we liked it, but we're like, it's not really the right timing. So then we actually didn't start using it until a couple of months later. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember what the possibilities were and I can figure it out on my own. I think I've sent an email twice to ask about something. And I think that says a lot, right? Like, it's so easy to set up. Then I also love that you can embed certain things. It's super clear in terms of getting an overview of everything. And this is also the feedback that we've been getting from our participants. And I think maybe that was even more important to me. So obviously I want it to be easy for myself, but I especially want our participants to have a good experience. And so getting that feedback from them, telling me that they really like all the content is there, all the events are there. When we have live sessions, all you have to do is go to Disco. You can attend it from there. You don't have to go into your calendar, click on a Zoom link. That just makes it super, super easy.
Yeah, I love that you shared the learner perspective as well, that it's also very easy and intuitive for them, because that's truly one of our main goals, is to ensure that not only is it an exceptional experience for you, but also for your learners, your mentors, whoever else comes into the community. In terms of, so we talked about the user experience for you and your members. I guess in terms of like how much time, like to quantifying maybe by the number of hours a week that it's like using Disco is saving you. I would love to hear if you have a way of quantifying it.
I mean, that would be a little bit of a guess because I've not tracked that.
Number of hours you think you're saving by using.
I think when it's about like when we're in the program, so the program is running, I want to say it probably saves me at least 3 to 4 hours a week, I want to say. In terms of like before, that's hard to tell because the program has also changed now. So actually setting it up is a lot of work at the moment. But then obviously for the one that comes after this, it's going to save me, I don't know, like probably a full working week, at least, I would say.
Because you're duplicating the program and then making changes.
But obviously now, like the team is creating banners for everything, putting in the assignments, etc. So obviously it's like the big cost up front that you will profit from later, right? That's the stage that we are at the moment, I want to say.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, with all the operational work that you're doing on a weekly basis. This is our magic wand question, which I just love. But if you had a magic wand and you could be like, there's a couple of features that we create that would save you so much time, so much hassle, what would some of those be?
Oh, that's interesting. I think just to make sure that I understand the question, like it's something that the platform doesn't provide at the moment, right?
Yeah, or an enhancement on something it already provides.
I think one thing that would be helpful, and I'm hoping I'm not mentioning something that actually exists and I just haven't figured it out. But like I said, we want to start to personalize the learning experiences more. So I think it would be great if within one program, I can upload everything there and then create groups and say, you get to see this module. And the other group sees, like group one sees A, B, C, and then group two sees A, B, and E, for example. if that makes sense. The reason for that being is also because we have a rather diverse group. So we've got some founders, but then we also have startup employees, we have corporate employees, and not every video lesson that we have is super relevant for everyone. So it would be nice to be able to divide between groups. There was another thing that I had in my, yeah, I remember. I've actually discussed this with, I think it was Chris. One thing that we offer, because I mean, there's definitely a lot of programs that are way more expensive, but it's still quite a lot of money that we ask. And so one thing that we offer is payment plans. And I know there's a bit of a workaround to integrate that on Disco, but it would actually be super nice if that was native to the platform, where I could say maybe even as a membership, right? Where you say it's like a membership, but after 4 payments, like they still have access, but they don't have to pay anymore, for example. But
Yeah.
other than, mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll switch gears back to female founders a little bit more, just chatting a little bit through what is your vision? I know that you're representing a team, but what do you imagine? How do you see this growing? Do you want to offer more programs? Like, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years?
And oh, that's a tough one.
Maybe in the next year. I think it's a long time.
So I think one thing that's definitely important for us as a team and as a company is the whole diversity, equity, inclusion space. And so I can imagine us creating new products around that, besides just the consulting that we're doing. And then I personally love building new things. And since the one program is done now, I would love to start, like, I don't know, maybe a course around diversity, equity, and inclusion specifically. So that's one thing. Also, that's more continuing of what we're doing right now is really support those gender diverse startups, because there really is a lot more money that needs to go their way, especially in the current market where there is less funding available, and that automatically means a lot less for women founders, for diverse founders.
Yeah. And in terms of business growth, do you think you'll want to just continue to grow the programs you already had? Or do you imagine adding more programs, doing more around community building before and after each program? What do you think? Where do you think?
Yeah, hard for me to really speak on, like, from a company perspective, but from my personal perspective, I definitely think that building our community and nurturing our community is really one of the next things that's going to become very important. In all honesty, in all transparency, this is where we've been lacking, I think, or at least haven't had the resources so far to really focus on it. We're a team of 14, I want to say, at the moment. So not a lot of people, but one of my colleagues actually has been, since the last 2 to 3 months, I want to say, has been taking on that, yeah, almost a community manager role, I want to say, and been doing a great job at that. So there I definitely see growth in terms of not necessarily growing the community in numbers, but maybe quality instead of just quantity.
Got it. This was so great. I really appreciated your shares, and just really nice to hear that the platform is intuitive, and also just like your mission is super aligned with what we're trying to do, and the fact that we are trying to create and enable the platform that you will then use to create the change in the world. And I think it's just means a lot to have folks like you and your team using the platform for good. And if we can be of any support throughout your journey, I think there's really exciting things coming up that I think are going to save you a lot more time. And as your programs continue to grow, as your community continues to grow, and also I'll say from a community strategy side, if you ever want to have any conversations around that, I would be more than happy to support on some best practices and how to best use Disco to engage your community.
I really appreciate that. Thanks. I also have to say, obviously, there were like the sort of objective or rational reasons to go with Disco, but also definitely one thing that we felt from the beginning is that there was this click and this alignment in a way. So it's been a very positive experience for us using the platform so far. And one thing I absolutely love is that there have been so many changes and development of the platform since we started using it, which I think is always super exciting.
Oh, that's so great. More to come. And we're really doing some exciting work around AI, which I think will be just transformative for operators. So stay tuned and thank you
Awesome.
again for this. And I can't wait to share the article with you when it's
I'm very excited for it too. And thanks so much for the invitation. I love my job. So it's always worth talking.
I can tell you love your job, and I'm sure the team is just so happy to have you be a part of it. Yeah, I'll talk to you on email after this then.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Have
I think.
a
Me
care.
too. Bye.